Welcome to Beyond the Buzzer's internal series. Our regular format's going to remain, and every 2 weeks we'll have episodes with high-performance athletes. In between those releases, however, in an effort to bring you more content, Sam and I are going to release internal episodes where we discuss life, basketball, and occasionally bring on some guests with high basketball IQ. So stay tuned for more info on that. With all that said, you added something else to your plate. I have no idea how, but you're now the advisor to a Man United men's team who are preparing for West Asia Super League, the highest quality basketball in our region.
Correct.
How do you have time and how do you even get that gig?
I got the phone call from a friend of mine who's the new ownership for a Man United club, and they were presented to join Wasl League, and he was excited for it, and he wanted to take that role on, and he needed somebody that has the experience. And then the past 2 years, I've been flying and watching the Final 8, the Final 4, and of course the BCL that was held in Dubai, and he felt that I can help, and I wanted to.
What's your scope of work though? What does advisor mean?
So basically, I oversee the men's team only. I have nothing to do with their younger teams, the under 18 and so on. I just oversee, help them build the team, build the roster. So that's what we did. We brought in Freddie Ibrahim, our national team star. We brought
Excellent
in Hashim
player.
Abbas as well.
Yeah.
We brought in Hamash. Now we're in the process of picking the imports. But of course, we were delayed, and due to what the hell's going on in the region, Wasl had to postpone the league twice with what's going on, but we'll get to that later. But I wanted something like this. I really believe that I always want to be part of like a team. If it's not coaching, I figured why not do this kind of role? It's kind of an advisor / GM where me and him take decisions together and help the head coach have the best chance at success.
It's going to be tough for you as someone who's coached to try and let the coach have his own, flow and groove, but also maintain that your experience matters and your experience pays.
You know what's crazy? I did catch myself, and I kept going back to no, give him what he needs.
100%.
Because at the end of the day, when I evaluated him at the end, I want to say I gave him all the tools, and I gave him everything to succeed.
He's also more likely to rely on you if he feels like you're not overbearing and trying to control everything he does, probably.
Right. I don't try to go to every practice. I try to go here and there. I try to communicate with the players, make sure everything's going good. I try to make sure our team is on the right track and things like that. But so far, so good. I'm excited. We need a good team from Jordan to always compete at that level. You know what I mean?
It's weird that the national team has excelled on the international stage, but we've never been able to, I say we, honorary Jordanian, we've never been able to find a domestic team to compete in these domestic tournaments. So I'm hoping this might be the one.
I hope so. But, I know we spoke about how do I find time. Look, when you're doing something you enjoy, you always find time, but it is a struggle. I am trying to juggle between the academy, family, my own mental health that I need to make sure it's always on at the top priority for me. I always believe, man, mental health and health is the most important thing before anybody else. You know what I mean? So it's tough. But, saying that, watching you, how busy your summer was. You're all over the damn place, you're traveling. Every time I speak to you, either New York, London, France, talk to me about that, man. What the hell were you doing this whole summer? You had a crazy summer.
I did. It was a bit of balance between work and fun, to be honest. I think the New York phase was my colleagues live in Canada, so it put us on the same time zone for the first time in a long time. So it was actually very convenient for me work. Now, if him and I need to speak, we set up a call 4 or 5 days in advance. At that time, I can just pick up the phone and call him. Nice. So work-wise, it actually was great. But after New York, I traveled a bit. I think for the first time now, maybe in a year, I have a bit of stability in my life.
Love it.
Where I'm staying primarily in Dubai. And in regards to mental health, and I won't claim to do this every day because it would be a lie, but there is something I've been trying to do where in the mornings when I wake up, I try to give myself an hour with my phone on airplane mode where I just stretch and I read a book. I don't even look at a screen.
I love it.
And I've come to that conclusion because I'm the kind of person that needs to spend time alone.
Okay.
And I realized that how we typically define introverts and extroverts is not actually how they're defined. So an introvert is someone that gains their energy from spending time alone. Okay. An extrovert is someone that gains their energy from being out and about. So as much as I'm a social person and I like to go out, I'm an introvert. I need to have at least an hour a day where I don't speak to anyone. I don't look at anyone. And I build up my own routine that way. So if I can make that something I do every day, then I think that's going to help me balance all the work I have right now. I would say I'm probably the busiest I've been in a long time, work-wise and podcast-wise, but that's also the life I signed up for, and that's the life I want. I think the only time I get anxiety in my life is when I feel like I'm not actually working as much as I should, or I'm, letting my colleagues down by not preparing the way I should. And that realization has made me come to the conclusion that I need to actually prioritize work and the podcast above everything else. So I'm a bit stressed. I'm a bit busy, but if I zoom out, take a look at my life, I would say I'm in a really great spot. The one thing I'm missing from my life is basketball and some involvement in basketball. I think from this morning session where I was panting the entire time, you can tell that I'm doing a bit too much Pilates and not enough basketball.
For real, that was crazy this morning. And usually, for people that don't know Aboudi, he walks in the gym and he's loud the same way I'm loud. Today he walked in and I'm like, oh Lord, it's going to be one of those kind of sessions. And I literally, first 20 minutes, it was like a slow-mo session.
I know.
But then you picked it up.
I picked it up a little bit. Yeah. I mean, I think tomorrow I'll be fine. It's always one day coming back into it. But also I think something I've really genuinely enjoyed is seeing you more, right? Yeah. You came to Dubai a couple of weeks ago, which is a good segue for what we want to talk about today. So you came to Dubai for NBA in UAE. Yeah. And that's now the third year in a row the NBA has set up in the UAE. What do you think about basketball in our region and how that's helping us sort of transition into an actual powerhouse?
So for people who don't know, I know Visit Dubai signed a 4-year deal with the NBA to bring the NBA to Dubai for 4 years. And the NBA wanted to see how that's going to work in the exposure and is it good for the region or not. This is my second year. I know last year you and I went to the games and got to experience it. This year I wanted to experience it from the beginning to the end. So I went there, I checked out some of their coaching clinics. I got to see some NBA personnel that I know. And then I got to check out the game. And I stayed in Abu Dhabi.
You also watched practice.
I did.
That's
I watched
crazy.
The Denver practice and I watched the Boston Celtics practices. And I was part of most of coaching clinics that they had going on and junior NBA as well. So I was all over the place. But I was there for that purpose. And it was phenomenal, actually. It was great for the region. So many people came in town to make sure they get a taste of the NBA. For Abu Dhabi to have 2 champions in their third year, remember, Denver won it 2 years ago, and last year, Boston won it. To be in Abu Dhabi is phenomenal. The star power.
Even think about Jaylen Brown, by the way, who won. We'll talk about Tatum in a bit, but Jaylen Brown, who won Finals MVP, who went up there and spoke in Arabic pregame.
That was amazing.
Who actually isn't he a Muslim?
He is Muslim.
Yeah. And he's very pro-Palestinian, which I think is it takes a lot of guts when you're in the NBA to do that.
Right.
So I think it was a very interesting thing to see that the NBA would bring someone over who they know is actually, promotes the region in a nice way.
It was great. And then to see him, see Tatum, see Jokic, you see Westbrook, Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray's mom is Syrian.
Okay.
You know what I mean? He spoke a little bit Arabic in some of the interviews.
No way.
And he was like, of course, my mom's Syrian. He told one of the guy that was interviewing him when he
So
told
the
him
Denver Nuggets, I'm not going to give away too many details, but the
Right.
Denver Nuggets actually came to Dubai and went out one of my boys' spots. Right. And they enjoyed the Dubai nightlife as well.
And you know what's crazy? The environment at the game was definitely not a preseason game. The stars that were there.
Compared to when you and I went last year, because I felt like that game was a bit weak.
It was this time, packed, sold out, first of all.
Okay.
And as you know, you saw it last year. They brought in the stars, the influencers, the former Hall of Famers, and so on. So even the NBA players enjoyed it because usually preseason games in the States, they're kind of weak. They don't have that much energy because even the fans know it's a preseason game. On this side, when they play these preseason games, these fans, this is the only NBA experience they're going to get. So the players know that, and they literally try to play a little bit harder than their usual preseason games. So it was beautiful. I mean, the energy, and to see Westbrook giving that energy, Jamal Murray, it was great. And I loved what Boston Celtics did. They played their starters the whole first period.
Nice.
You know what I mean? Just to give a taste for these fans. So it was great.
Speaking about NBA and UAE, you mentioned Visit Dubai having a sponsorship with them for 4 years. They also became the patch partner of the New York Knicks, who had one of the most, and that probably means the Knicks will come next season if I had to take a guess.
Right.
But the Knicks had one of the most, let's say prominent, I'm not sure if that's the correct word, but the most active off seasons, picking up Karl Anthony Towns, Mikal Bridges. Do you think that's enough to get them over the hump?
I thought it's better for the New York Knicks for one reason.
Versus
Randle
Okay.
versus Julius Randle. Julius Randle needed the ball in his hand often. And as you know, Brunson needs the ball in his hand. So if I'm a Nick coach or management, I want the ball in Brunson's hand. So Julius Randle is not going to be effective. He's not a catch and shoot. By them going Karl Anthony Town, now he's a great catch and shoot guy. And he's a spacer. And he's also 7-footer. So or Julius Randle is about 6'7", 6'8". So I thought it was an upgrade. You know what I mean? So I definitely believe the Knicks is a better team, although Bridges and Karl Anthony did not shoot the ball well in the preseason, but yet I do see them better. I think they did upgrade.
It's funny, when I first saw that trade, my initial inclination was to say the same thing you did, that the Knicks won the trade. I'm the biggest Julius Randle hater of all time. I'm sure he's a lovely individual, but I hate his style of basketball. I think he takes terrible jump shots. He doesn't space the floor well, sorry.
Right.
But when I think about Anthony Edwards, and maybe because I've been watching the new Starting Five show on Netflix where his personality and his demeanor and his aura is coming out, I think he's on a path to really become, the face of the NBA, him, Victor Wembanyama, people like that. And I think giving him Dante DiVincenzo, who's a dog.
Correct.
And Julius Randle, who probably has something to prove because he's been traded around a little bit and because people talk a lot about his inability to be on a winning team.
And his health as well.
I think the Wolves maybe got better too. They were actually, defensively speaking, they were better when Karl Anthony Towns was off the floor last year. And I'm not saying Julius Randle's a good player, defensive player.
Can I cut you off right there? You know why they're going to be better?
Naz Reid's going to play more.
Correct.
I know.
Good job.
I got you. Naz Reid's going to step in the starting lineup.
Right.
And I think Dante DiVincenzo will come off the bench as a sixth man. And I think, and we'll get to that later, I think the rookie they picked up, Rob Dillingham, is going to be very, very impactful. But that's the Knicks trades. Next big one, PG sacking off the Clippers, going to Philly. That means Tyrese Maxey's obviously one of their big boys, but the two main players on Philly, severe injury problems, severe injury history. Do you think this gets them over the hump?
I think they needed that third scorer.
Tobias Harris never did it.
And he was so inconsistent.
Yeah.
Paul George, to be fair to him, he was consistent last year, although Kawhi was in and out a lot. But Paul George was on the court a lot last year. It literally takes a serious injury to keep Paul George off the court. And I think he's going to help Philly a lot. It is very, very important for him to be on the court. I think he'll play minimum 62 games this year.
Interesting. But you saw that Joel Embiid won't play back-to-backs.
I saw that. You know what I mean?
For the rest of his career.
It's crazy to me.
I think he got his MVP, and now he realizes that all he needs is a championship to cement his career.
It's tough for guys that big. And he had a lot of injuries coming in the NBA with his foot.
He also started playing super late. And look, the Kawhi Leonard thing, I think players like that, and you never know what someone's actually going through mentally and physically. And I do wish that players would play a bit more, but at the same time, the demands of the NBA are crazy. 82 games a year when you're 7'2", like Joel Embiid, and you're big body like that, and you get banged up. True. I also understand, man. These guys want to be able to walk and lift up their kids when they're 40, 50.
I agree.
I don't know. Next big trade. Well, in my opinion, not so big, but DeRozan to the Kings. What do you think?
DeRozan to the Kings. I think it's okay for two reasons. One, you have a guy that you can go to at the end, although I still take De'Aaron Fox over DeRozan.
De'Aaron Fox actually led the league in fourth quarter scoring for, I think, the last 2 years.
Correct.
Yeah.
But Sacramento's known to play fast basketball, up-tempo, shoot in the first, 8 seconds of the shot clock. But now you're bringing in DeRozan. That's not his style. And he's not a catch-and-shoot guy. He's more of a mid-range, off-the-dribble guy. I don't know how that's going to fit, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and as much as I love him, and I think he's a wonderful individual and a very good basketball player.
Right.
He's never won anything.
True.
He spent his career being bounced by LeBron, who is the greatest player of all time. Don't even get into that argument.
Fair.
But he's, so it's when you bring in these veteran players, the Magic brought in Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. He's won a championship.
Right.
I don't know if that's going to have the same desired effect. But in terms of bringing in championship players, the Dallas Mavericks signed Klay Thompson, who turned down bigger money from the Lakers to go play in Dallas, in a system where they already have two very ball-dominant guards.
Correct.
What do you think made him make that choice?
I think he wanted to get out of Golden State for sure. He didn't want to go to the Lakers because he didn't want to play behind the shadow of his dad and his father.
Interesting.
I really believe so. And
that's very interesting. I never thought about that, actually.
I don't know if he's going to do well in Dallas for one main reason. With Golden State, at least you touched the ball often and you got rid of it and it came back to you again.
Yeah.
With Dallas, the ball sticks in Luka. Yes, by all means, he does pass when he needs to. But 3, 4, 5 possessions, you might not touch the ball because Kyrie and Luka, there's no shot they don't like. And they make tough shots. So, Clay, are you able to go up and down 3, 4, 5 possessions?
Can he contribute defensively? That's the thing. Can he stay locked in?
Right, and then be able to catch and shoot, and then all of a sudden be a decoy again for the next 3, 4 possessions. That's tough. You know what I mean? Coming from...
And he hasn't shot well recently.
He hasn't. He's been off the whole preseason. And that's due because the ball does not find him a lot because the ball sticks in Luka and Kyrie's hands.
But my boy and our second guest this season, Mike Atkinson, you know, he works out with Clay a lot and says the guy is always ready. So I think it's unwise to doubt someone who's won so much.
I agree. He'll adjust.
I think he'll adjust. I think he'll have a harder time than we think. I don't think it's going to be as much of a big trade as the other ones we've mentioned.
Right.
But I hope it is because I'd like to see Luka and Kyrie win a championship.
I think he'll be more valuable for that team come playoffs.
Yes, maybe.
Because he's not scared of that
That's
moment.
a good point.
And
If he lost,
wants that ball.
100%. Last big trade we want to speak about. Personally, not a player I love, but a serial winner when it comes to the regular season.
Right.
Never won a ring. CP3 to the Spurs.
I really don't understand that trade.
Why? I don't know if
For
it was a trade,
CP.
but it was
a trade.
It was trade?
It was a trade,
Okay.
yeah. Like, I don't understand the thought process behind that for the Spurs.
for the Spurs, I get it. For him, I don't get it.
I mean, for him. Oh, and the Spurs.
For the Spurs, they're bringing in a veteran guy to help, Victor Wembanyama understand what it takes to go to the next level and to bring some maturity and some leadership and some poise to a younger team. I actually really get it from the Spurs. And, Paul probably wants to have Chris Paul on his roster once. But from Chris Paul, who is still chasing that elusive championship,
right.
You're not going to get it in San
You're
Antonio.
not.
At least not in the time frame in which you're still going to be in the NBA. He's what, in year 18 now?
I think so. Yeah. I don't even see it honestly for the Spurs because they have a lot of young guys. These young guys want to run. These guys want to defend. That's not CP. CP wants to slow it down, play that pick and roll, manipulate the defense, understand the defense. Today's NBA, it's run and gun. You're moving. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think that his ability, if he's able to teach that slower part of the game to those young guys, come playoff time, if they make the playoffs, that's what you need. We've all seen this. There are teams that excel in the regular season because they can play fast and defend and they're young.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the postseason, you need to slow the game down, get a bucket, and
But how many
control.
minutes do you think he's going to be playing? Are we talking about 25 to 30 minutes max?
That's a good question.
I won't play him more than 25.
Yeah.
I won't play him.
Because who else they got at the point? Jeremy Sochan.
And they have, and they have, what's the other kid? Keldon Johnson.
Yeah.
He's very tough.
Yeah.
I mean, let's see.
Okay. Speaking of playoff times, give me your top 4 in the East and your top 4 in the West, and I'll give you mine and we'll talk through it.
Hands down, Boston. Their roster is phenomenal. I got to see them in person. They are so deep. They're experienced now. They're probably as hungry. They upgraded. I don't see anybody beating them. The 2 teams that I think might give them a run for their money are Philly and the Knicks. Okay. Those are the only 2 teams. Philly, if it's healthy, I think they can give them a run. The other team is the Knicks. But the others, I don't really believe Milwaukee's going to have a good year. I just don't see it. I don't know. Something about that team's chemistry, the way they're put together, I don't see it happening. So those are my top 3. I think it's going to be between... I say in the Eastern Conference Finals, I see the Knicks and Boston.
That's funny. Okay, so I'm going regular season only. I'm going Celtics, Knicks, Bucks, Magic.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. So Bucks did sneakily get a bit better and younger. They picked up 2 people in the draft.
Yes.
Giannis is I believe, a 2-time MVP who has been bounced twice in the first round because of injuries.
Correct.
And he's angry, dude. He's talking his talk preseason. I don't think you can ever sleep on someone like that. And he won a ring. Don't forget, Giannis has done it before.
Fair.
So I think if he stays healthy and Dame stays healthy, which again, it's a big if, they can compete in the East.
But if you're speaking of health, Middleton already is not going to start the season off because he's injured.
I know,
so
but as important as he is, for me, it's about those 2 guys. It's about Dame and Giannis.
Okay.
As for Philly, I think if they come playoff time, everyone's healthy, they can make a deeper run. If I had to guess who's going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals, if everyone's healthy, I want to say Celtics Bucks.
Nice.
Honestly, I think Philly and
You can't go wrong with that. I
Philly
think.
and the Knicks will be close.
Yeah.
It'll be between those 4 teams. But even though I have the Magic finishing 4th, I don't think they're ready to make that push yet. In the West,
Who do you have?
I have, and I'm probably going to be very wrong, but I have the Wolves, OKC, Lakers, and Dallas as my top 4.
Not bad. Not bad. I got Dallas, the Minnesota, of course, Oklahoma, and a surprise, New Orleans.
Wow. So DeJounte Murray's a big pickup that we didn't speak about,
That
by
is
the
the
way.
only reason why.
That's a huge pickup.
That's why I picked them to be that 4th team that's going to sneak in.
Interesting.
And Zion coming in shape.
Dude,
lost
he was
some
he
weight.
was cooking at the end of last season.
And then, have you seen his pictures as of late?
Yeah, he
oh
looks
my
good.
God, just transformation on his
Yeah, he
body.
looks
I
good.
mean, he looks good.
The Western Conference is the highest level of basketball in the world, and it's
Yes.
continuing to get better. There are
Agree.
There are 10 teams in the West that could finish in the top 6.
I agree.
It's crazy.
So, I mean, those teams, and like I said, I never want to count out the Lakers, especially with LeBron
Or the Suns.
or the Suns.
Or the Warriors.
My gosh, I
It's
mean,
fucking crazy. Or Denver.
or Denver. It's tough, man. The West is tough.
The West is tough. But speaking of Denver, so I got 2 surprise teams I want to talk about right now quickly. For me, number 1, like I mentioned earlier, is the Magic.
Okay.
I don't think they're going to make a deep playoff. I can't do that. I don't think they're making a deep playoff run.
Right.
But I think they are a very tall, very defensively sound team, extremely well coached.
I agree.
Again, they picked up Contavious Caldwell-Pope. They're not ready to make that playoff jump yet, but I think they'll have a very, very good regular season.
And then the West.
And in the West, I think we're going to see the end of the Denver Nuggets as we know it. Jokic is still going to cook,
Okay.
but they didn't really get better.
Agree.
And as much as I like their team and Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray, there's something about and I've been wrong about them in the past, right? I used to always say they weren't a playoff team, and then I was right, and then they won a ring, so I was obviously wrong.
Right.
I would never want to talk shit about Russell Westbrook because I respect his passion for the game so much, to
Right.
be honest. But I don't think he adds much to that team. I think he comes off the bench and brings energy and he keeps them going. But, dude, the NBA is a shooting league. At the moment, he hasn't been shooting the ball well. Jamal Murray is not reliable in terms of injuries.
They already been talking about his knees not feeling
Yep.
up
And
to
there have been
par.
whispers about Denver wanting to ship him. So all this stuff can either motivate a team, which
Right.
it might because they are a championship team, or it can creep into the dressing room and cause issues. And I'm not saying it's going to do one or the other, but I don't think they are going to have a good regular season the way they have in the past couple of years.
2 teams I'm excited to watch. In the East, of course, is the Orlando Magic.
Mm-hmm.
In the West, the Houston Rockets. They are young.
Mm-hmm.
They are hungry. They are excited to play.
They got better in the offseason.
And they got better in the offseason. Nobody's talking about them. And they are so athletic, man.
I'm
I
so
just
happy.
can't wait to watch them play. And you'll never know. I think they'll be in the play-in for sure. That is my prediction. I don't know if they make it into the playoffs. If they did, that's a huge success for them.
I agree.
But I'm very excited for them.
I agree. I mean, so even when Alperen Sengun went down with an injury last year, they managed to figure out how to win. I mean, Jalen Green started cooking. They went
Right.
like 9-1 in the last in 10 of the last 15 games. So I don't know if they're ready yet to make that deep playoff run. They're definitely not ready yet.
Right. So that's why the play-in, I
Yeah.
think it's definitely within the reach.
But again, don't forget they have a championship point guard in Fred VanVleet.
Right.
Jalen Green, budding superstar. Alperen Sengun, budding superstar.
Let's not
Jabari, not Jackson or Parker. Jabari,
Gosh.
I forgot his last name,
Right.
but he's a great.
Let's not forget their head
great
coach.
Stretch four, head coach, phenomenal
Phenomenal
coach.
coach.
Speaking of players, we'll get to rookies later. So we've done our surprise teams. We've done our top 4 in the East and the West. Who do you think is a player to look out for? Not necessarily MVP, but someone that has something to prove, or some people that have something to prove this year.
It's not going to be a surprise, but I think Tatum is going to have a crazy year.
I agree.
Remember when Gilbert Arenas got kicked off the USA team a while back?
I remember when when his career essentially ended because he brought a gun to the locker room.
No. So he got kicked off. He didn't make that roster. I
Okay.
think it was the year when Kobe was on that team. I think it was
Okay.
the Redeem team.
Okay.
And he came into the season and was dropping 50 on cats, especially when he played against players.
Agent Zero, dude.
He went to work.
One of my favorite players growing up.
I think Tatum, after what happened to him
I agree.
in the summer.
And the fact that he didn't win Finals MVP and everyone's talking about that too.
He is on a mission.
Yeah.
I think he's going to go nuts.
Yeah.
Especially everybody, make sure you mark your calendar. When the Celtics plays Golden State in Golden State and at home, he's going to go for probably 70 against Steve Kerr. He's going to go crazy.
Anyone else?
Anthony Edwards, of course.
Okay.
He does not care who's in front of him.
It
can be LeBron. It could be KD. He is coming for you.
For any basketball fan, I recommend watching Starting Five. The end of that episode where they introduce Anthony Edwards is the coldest fucking thing in the world.
Right.
He's crazy.
And that's him.
That's him. I mean? That's authentically him.
And I love it. And that's why I say, like you said earlier, he is going to be the face of the NBA soon. Yeah. And
he kind of is, dude.
For him not to care that he's playing against LeBron or KD or Booker or whoever.
Dude, before the Olympics, he was saying, I'm the best player on this team.
Like,
he's crazy.
This is what you need.
100%.
So those are the two players I believe that they're going to have a crazy breakout year.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna harp on your points. Those two are in my top three. The third one I think is Luka again. I would like to think that he's finally had a really good offseason where he took care of his body and he's dropped a bit of weight and he's ready to go for the long term. I think he'll step up. I'm curious to watch Devin Booker, a player I'd never really liked that much, but he really impressed me in his way of adapting to that role on the USA national team this summer. So I think he's one to watch. And then the two young guys in the Rockets, Alperen Sengun and Jalen Green, because if they step up and they build that chemistry, like they're going to be a duo to be really, really formidable coming forward. And the final one, I think, how does that Brunson-Cat duo work out as well? I think they're going to be the highest scoring duo in the NBA this year, but does that transition to the defensive side of things and to winning games? Not too sure.
Fair. What about Rookie of the Year?
I was going to say last thing on the NBA. So everyone says my boy in Houston, Reed Shepard's going to win it. The GMs have voted and they thought that he would. I think he's going to average a very cool 12 to 14 points, a couple of assists, a block, a steal. I think he'll be very useful, but that team is so deep that I don't think he'll have an opportunity to make an impact right away. I think he'll build a very successful career over time. For me, Rookie of the Year is going to be Dalton Connect. He's going to have a big role in the Lakers. I don't know if he'll start, but I know under JJ Redick he'll have a really good opportunity to do his thing. And the one, like I mentioned earlier, that I like his vibe, and I think he's very similar to Anthony Edwards in his energy. So him being on the same team as Anthony Edwards is his Instagram handle is Rob with the shifts. Rob with him. He is shifty as hell.
Right.
He can put the ball in the basket, and he seems like a good overall dude. So those are my three rookies to watch.
I'm gonna go with. I only have one that I think he's gonna surprise everybody, and I think he's NBA ready. Is Alex Sarr.
Ooh, interesting. He didn't have a good NBA G League, but not G League.
In the Summer League.
Summer League, yeah.
But I think because he played in Europe, Spain with Real Madrid, and then
for those who don't know, he was number one pick, by the way.
And then he was number two.
Who was number one this year?
Guy from
Zachary.
I think guy from overseas.
Yes. Also, sorry, you're right.
And then Sarr played last year in Australia. Had a great year. He's 7-footer.
Yeah.
Can handle the ball.
Sorry, he actually was okay in Summer League. I'm incorrect. The one who wasn't good was the number one pick who plays for Atlanta.
Right. And I think he's going to be a surprise. The guy can do it all. And he's been playing against grown men for the past 2-3 years. So I think he's ready for the NBA, and I think he has a very good chance of being Rookie of the Year.
Yeah. And then for me, the last NBA thing I'll say is I just think Depoy is going, Defensive Player of the Year, is going to Victor Wembanyama. I think last year was Rudy's last year.
Yeah.
I think Victor's going to average some crazy block numbers this year, and he's going to get it, honestly.
Make sure you guys pick him up on your fantasy teams.
Transitioning into basketball in the Middle East. You mentioned earlier that Wassel has had to be rescheduled twice given the ongoing situation in our region and the escalation recently.
Once again, man, our region is not stable due to what's going on in our homeland with the Israeli occupation. It is very frustrating what's going on now in Lebanon. Now, as we all know, Israel is bombing Lebanon as well. So Lebanon...
Relentlessly.
Exactly, as we speak. Even yesterday was a brutal day. Lebanon had to postpone their league, and they are in talks of canceling the league.
Where would the players go if that was the case? Because at the moment, it's still not You still can't sign Middle East other Middle Eastern country players.
You can't. Like right now, I heard Wa'il Araqji signed to play in Qatar for a cup that's taking place in the next 12 days.
Okay.
The others I
So
know.
it's not for a season. It'll just
No,
be for
it's
the
not.
cup.
I know all the imports were released from the teams. I know there's 2 teams are going to be that are in Wasil. It's Riyadi and Suggest Club Hikmeh, but both of them are saying that if things don't get better, they will pull out of the league. So now we are looking at only 6 teams in West Asia, which will be Syria, Jordan, Iraq, and Iran. Actually, 4 teams. Excuse my language.
What
not
about
6.
the Kuwait team?
They're in the Gulf region.
Okay, that's right.
So this is bad. You know what I mean? Like I was looking forward for this year. Last year, Lebanon had a phenomenal year in basketball in their league and in Riyadh winning everything. So I was looking forward this year. Suggest Club, they uploaded with crazy players, great imports, and they were ready. They were coming for that title. We finally had a team in Jordan joining Wasil, so I was excited. And now to see this, it's frustrating. You know what I mean? Like players, sports on this side of the world keep getting hit with these uncertainties and these situations that they can't control.
It's like we take like 1 step forward and then 6 backwards.
Right.
And then this one, to be fair, is out of our control. So I don't think it's like fair to blame federations and stuff. But it does seem like there's consistently something that's blocking the development of the sport in our region.
Right. So now, like, what do? Now West Asia is saying, what's the league, that we will play a game on December 4th. Mind you, we're supposed to play on October 14th. And I don't know if both Lebanese teams don't play, we can't, because no teams can travel to Lebanon. And I don't know if any teams can travel to Iran either. It's not stable there either. So we have no idea what's going to take place. And it's sad. You know what I mean? It's like frustrating because you want to see the sport. As we were just talking about NBA in Abu Dhabi. Like why the NBA gets all that exposure and we can't get this exposure to our homeland. You know what I mean? Lebanon, Jordan, Syria, Iraq, all these other countries. You know, we want that exposure as well. Like we don't want to just see fans when the NBA comes in town. We want to see fans when our own Arab teams are showcasing their
100%.
talent. You know what I mean? So that is just the frustrating part. And I know it's not Wasil's fault, but what can they do? This is our region right now. You know what I mean? It's freaking frustrating. And I'm pissed.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, me too. But speaking of showcasing our talent, our boy Musti.
Ooh, the Arab Championship.
Cooking. I mean, he is the player that made me realize I'm not going to go play pro again. When he came here and he was playing against me and Rob, I mean, that guy can fucking play basketball.
Yo, don't call me on this, but I think in the Arab Championship, I think in 3 games or 4 games, he shot over 60% from the 3-point line.
For context, for people who don't know, NBA players that shoot at like the highest level shoot between like 30 to 40% max from 3-point line. And this motherfucker was doing 1-leg pull-ups from 40 feet. I mean, he's crazy, Sam.
He's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like you have to guard him as soon as he crosses half court.
Or he'll shoot it.
He has no fear.
No.
And I love that about him.
He's also a wonderful guy.
Great guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Down to earth. And it's crazy. He's only 22.
Yeah.
And he's doing this to win the MVP of the Arab Championship.
Seriously.
You know what I mean? And then I think he won the MVP in the national team golf championship as well. I mean, I think the kid is ready to play somewhere else.
Yeah.
I think Qatar is great, but I would like to see him play somewhere else. I would love to see him play in China.
I'd love to see him play in Europe.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And I think
he'd do well in Europe because he knows how to move the ball and he doesn't need the ball to score.
And he shoots the hell out of the ball.
Dude, he's crazy.
I mean, you cannot let him get that shot off.
It's funny because all week when we were doing like the 5-on-5 drills, like I think I was doing all right against him, and I was like, all right, okay, cool, like whatever. And then he found out we were gonna do the 1-on-1 on camera, and he just started cooking, man. He was crazy. Man.
He's special. He's
one of the
special.
hardest
Shout
players
out to
I've
my
ever
guy,
met.
Muslim, man. Phenomenal.
Honestly.
So
I know you wanted to speak about women's basketball and the Jordanian team winning their Arab Championship.
Right. So we had both Arab Championships going on during the same time. We had the men and then we had the women. The women were lucky enough to have it here in Jordan. And host team was the Fais Club, women team. And they hosted it. And unfortunately, we didn't have an Egyptian team or a Lebanese team, but it was fine. Our local team, Fais, did a phenomenal job. Did a great job. They ended up winning the championship against the Saudi team. Shout out to all the women that balled out: Zara, Najjar, Liliana Abu Jbara, Rasha, Joanna Haddad, all these women. I'm sorry if I miss any of these ladies. Shout out to the coach, Naif. But I want to give credit to the president of the club, Ayman Samawi. The guy been supporting women basketball for the past, I want to say, 7 to 8 years without anything in return. The Jordanian women league been, excuse my language, garbage. No support for the past years. Yet he stayed with it. And yet he's given that platform for these women to get that exposure outside, here, all these international tournaments. And the women have answered every call. And I'm very proud of all of them. I was able to check out most of the games. I was there for the championship game, rooting for these girls. And it was fun to see that championship game sold out. No place, no seats available. I loved it. You know what I mean? And for the girls to come out and ball out and win big was the icing on the cake. And I'm proud of them.
Last topic today, speaking of women's basketball, shout out to New York Liberty, who won the WNBA championship yesterday. They won in 5 games, but in game 3, Sabrina Ionescu with the coldest game winner I've seen in a long time.
Nice. That cross, jab, one dribble,
and
3.
no emotion, stone face. That's how you know she really spent a lot of time with Kobe Bryant.
She did. That's her man.
Her
she
man,
loves
honestly.
Kobe. You know what I mean? But it was a great final series to go to game 5 and from the winning. But a crazy stat I read yesterday about the WNBA. As of yesterday, the WNBA will lose $5 million.
Wow.
And although we thought this year, with the fan base, with everything that was going on, the exposure, I thought they're going to definitely be in the positive.
It's going to grow, though. I mean, Caitlin just completely transformed interest in this game.
But it just shows you, like, how much we want to support, yet women basketball still not generating the money.
No, but I really think now we're going to see a positive trajectory.
I hope so.
Given how different it was this season from prior seasons.
Right, I hope so. Like, I know the women, they talk a lot about the salaries compared to the male. It's very tough for the NBA to raise that salary till they're making money. You know what I mean? It's very tough. So I think they're going in the right direction. Like, I know right now they're taking private jets and things like that. But eventually, I think the women need to be patient. I see it in the next 3 to 5 years, salaries going up. But I don't expect it to happen next year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's no way it can go from 150 to 200K to $1 million.
Look, the thing is, it's a demand-driven industry.
Right.
And I think in some cases, when men make more than women, it doesn't make sense. So, for example, like the women's USA football team is so much better than the men's football team. So, like, there should be a substantial change in how things are done in that case. But when it comes to WNBA versus NBA, at the moment, there is still so much more demand to watch the NBA.
Right.
And that's why these guys can command the salaries they do. Now, with Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese coming in, bringing a bit of a new era into women's basketball, it will pick up and they will be compensated. I think there has to be a baseline of similarities, like you said. So, like the private jets, the travel, the food, all that stuff should be baseline, men and women.
Right.
But then individual salaries are, again, it's demand driven, and only when more and more people watch the game, when the game develops, will that then transition into better salaries to the women.
I love how you got to bring football into our conversations.
I know.
If you guys don't know, he's a huge football fan. And speaking of football, by the way, you know, our Jordan national team in football has a very, very big chance to make the World Cup.
Yeah, they've been cooking.
And the World Cup will be in the U.S.
They just beat Qatar 4-1, I believe.
They beat Oman 4-0.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think they're sitting in second place. I know top 2 automatically advance to the World Cup.
Yep.
And they will be in L.A., by the way.
It's all over the U.S.
All over the U.S., correct.
A couple really good individual talented players that are playing in Europe now for the Jordanian national team.
Right.
So shout out them. Shout out, I don't know his name,
Who?
but there's an Egyptian footballer who is now first in goals and assists in the German league. For the first time ever, after 10 games, having the same player. He's got 9 goals and 4 assists. Young Egyptian player.
Is he the second Egyptian player to play in Europe? You probably know more than me because I think Salah was the first one.
Liverpool, obviously. No, there have been plenty.
There has been plenty. Okay.
Yeah. But
Egyptians are pretty good in football, by the way.
Arabs in general, by the way. But it's going to keep growing. So, more power to them. Hopefully we see more and more Arabs in European football.
Right.
But that's all the time we have for today.
Yeah, baby.
Sam, I enjoyed that.
Phenomenal.
Always great seeing you.
Love
Impossible to be in a bad mood around you. I love you, and we'll do another one very soon.
For sure. Make sure you guys check us out, baby. Great job. Yes, sir.
If you made it this far, thank you for watching. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to us on YouTube and all podcasting apps.
And make sure you follow us on all the social media apps. Another one in the books, baby. Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.